Hello, everyone. This is Kanisha Grayson. I am the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying. And today I have our superstar client, Soltan, here with me. I'm so excited for you, Soltan. This is actually our first time interacting on video, which is nice. So first, how I like to kick off these interviews, besides saying thank you for your time and for sharing your story, is I actually like to start with all the good news up front so that people are like, why should I listen to him? So that they will know why they should listen to you. And then we'll go into more background. So first, just introduce yourself briefly and then tell us your results so far.
All right, sounds good. So hey everyone, my name is Soltan Bryce. I live in the Boston area and I'm super excited because the help of The Art of Applying. So I was ready to go to business school. I had applied before to 3 schools, didn't get into any of them, including my dream school, which was Harvard. And then this time around, just didn't want to take no for an answer. So worked with Art of Applying, applied to 10 schools. So far, I interviewed at 7 of them. Of all the places I've interviewed, I've been offered admission. So right now that count is at 6, including my dream school, which is Harvard. So super excited about that. And then of those schools, 2 others, Dartmouth, Tuck, and Berkeley Haas offered me full rides. UVA, Darden offered me a half ride. And fingers crossed, I'm hearing from Duke a little bit later today that I think that they're probably gonna offer me money. But in the end, HBS is my choice, so I'm super excited to go there. For me, yield is 100% for my dream.
Soltan, these results are phenomenal. And also, I did not realize you were a reapplicant.
Yeah.
So I got to add a little question to my list. That was wonderful. So, wow. So we have admitted to HBS after rejection last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, excuse me. Admitted to Tuck.
Yep.
With a full ride?
Yep.
Fantastic. Is that a consortium scholarship?
Yes, that was my first ranked consortium school.
Fantastic. Admitted to Haas with basically a full ride.
Yep.
The reason I say basically everyone is just because Soltan didn't put Haas as his first choice on the consortium. So if you don't put your first choice school, if a school's not their first choice, when you rank them on your consortium list, they're not going to give you a full ride. But we know that that can be converted.
Yeah, and I applied for another fellowship at Haas called Defining Leaders for focus on diversity and inclusion, and received that. And yeah, they said that they'd up it if I did choose Haas.
Okay, fantastic. And another one of our clients who's doing an interview with me on Saturday, she did get that scholarship at Haas.
Nice.
So y'all would be I know you're not going to, you're going to go to HBS, but y'all would have been co-fellows. And sorry, I want to go through all the schools again. So we got into Duke and we're waiting on the money, but we think it'll be a full ride. Got into Darden with a half scholarship.
Yep. And
fantastic.
Then, I forgot I was admitted to Yale SOM as well.
You see, you got into so many schools, you can't even keep them straight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Any money from Yale?
No money from Yale.
Okay, got it. Okay, they're like strategically, they're like, this guy's a superstar. We're gonna not offer money so we can offer it to someone we think will actually come. Well, let's dive in. That was wonderful. So Soltan, how does it feel?
Honestly, it's amazing, and I think I have been working so hard on it. I'm still trying to feel it fully because I've just been like solely focused on my goal. And so the feeling of achieving a goal is almost as good as admission itself. So I'm feeling pretty proud of myself right now and really happy at setting a goal, setting a plan to get there and delivering on it. And I'm just feeling really good.
I'm so happy for you and so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so now we know all the good news. Another thing I like to do, Soltan, is have you share whichever of your stats that you are comfortable sharing, because people watching this are going to be like, well, that's great, but he's perfect. So, and maybe you are perfect, but let's hear whatever of these things you are willing to share. Age, GPA, test scores, and other like numbers type things.
Sure. So I'm 29. And it was really important to me to get into school before I turned 30. So that was kind of a big one for me. I went to UNC-Chapel Hill as an undergraduate and had a pretty decent GPA. I was a Morehead scholar there, and I had a 3.68 with 2 social sciences degrees. I graduated with honors and distinction. So I'd say my undergraduate was definitely like pretty good. The MBA type classes that are required, like the stats, micro, I took those classes and I did like okay, like B pluses across the board there. Took the GRE instead of the GMAT because for a while I was considering potentially a dual degree and decided it wasn't exactly what I needed.
Okay.
But I continued to take the GRE. I took it 4 times and I eventually improved my score to a 160 on the math and a 164 on the verbal with a, I believe, whatever the perfect score is on the writing, which is honestly amazing because from start to finish, I improved my scores across the board a lot, and that was one of the most painful processes ever. So happy to chat about that because it was one that I really had to work on.
Okay, wonderful. I want to interrupt you there. I do not want you to say our test prep tutor's name because he also takes clients on outside of our program, but of course, like I want them to come through us. But did you work with our test prep tutor?
Yeah, so happy to share this because this was really interesting. Like I said, I was really committed to admission and I knew GRE was my weak place. And so I actually hired a Kaplan tutor at first and paid a Kaplan tutor, worked with one person from there for a couple of weeks and took the GRE with that person. I didn't improve my score, so I was really kind of feeling really not great about that. And I knew when it was happening that it wasn't going as well. Got another Kaplan tutor, but again, wanted to really just get that score higher. So worked with the person from Art of Applying and like, it was night and day in terms of having 2 tutors from another, company. What the tutor from Art of Applying did for me in terms of psychology prep, just like really, really strategy-based approaches was super helpful. And I would definitely attribute the strength to just like wrote, learn this stuff, like do some kind of weekly practice, but with the strategies from Art of Applying, it was definitely night and day.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I love our tutor. I'm trying to clone him, and I'm so happy that we have him. Okay, those are great. Thank you for sharing those stats. That helps people kind of situate like what is possible. And I'm so encouraged and thrilled that you're a reapplicant. I did not remember that. So the way that people are able to work with the Art of Applying and our application accelerator is they first have a breakthrough call. So talk to us about why you signed up for a breakthrough call and how you even found out about the Art of Applying.
Yeah, so after I didn't get in last time, so a little bit of context as well. So the reason I applied 2 years ago is because my now wife, back then fiance, had been admitted to Harvard's Divinity School, and we moved to Harvard, and I was like, oh, I'll just try to get into business school. We'll be at Harvard together. Didn't get in and spent the next 2 years, riding my bike across Harvard's campus every day on my way to work, knowing like this will be me one day. And so just kind of threw that in there because I think that's nice.
That is a wonderful visualization.
So I kind of went through the process of like, what will help me? Because I really clearly didn't get it right the first time. For me, it was like probably, my GRE score. And then I was like, I think there's something missing. So I started searching like how to get into business school and like diversity applicants. And, because you guys have pretty good marketing, I think stuff started surfacing for me. And I kept seeing Art of Applying. I kept seeing other people's stories. And I was like, that sounds like something that would work for me. So I set up a call, and honestly, the breakthrough call was incredible. And I think part of the experience across the board for business school in general is before I even got to the Art of Applying, but absolutely during the Art of Applying, is just imagining possibility. And I think that the breakthrough call really like gave me the confidence I needed to like take the next step. So I just really felt like it was a great call. Like the questions that were asked, like just sort of built me up in my mind. And as a consultant, I actually trying to like implement some of when I see other people in other industries doing that well, and like, I want to do that too, because that's sticky success.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what about the breakthrough call? You mentioned the questions. What about the breakthrough call was so impactful for you? And was there any fear about signing up for the breakthrough call for you?
Yeah, I think I was a little nervous. I think the first time I signed up, I didn't have my partner with me. And then, all decision makers were present the second time. And I really liked that, and I really appreciated it. And I think that was one thing that really stuck out to me as being unique in imagining and preparing possibility, just saying all those things with my partner next to me, who obviously is someone who sees great things in me. And so to say it for myself, to have a witness there right next to me, someone who's going to be with me every day, I think that was really impactful. That really stuck out to me, to just like, you're like, yeah, like I am great. Like I do have what it takes. I love that.
Oh, I love it. And this happens to people a lot. They sign up for a Berkeley call. We try as much as we can ahead of time to say, please bring any stakeholders, whether it's your parents or your partner. And still a lot of people are like, no, it's fine. And they show up without them. So it sounds like you maybe got rescheduled because you didn't bring your partner to the call. How'd you feel when that happened? Was there any resistance, or were you like, who are these people to tell me my person needs to be, I could do this on my own?
Well, it's funny. Yeah. I think I was nervous. I was definitely nervous about the call. So in some ways, I think it made it more like, all right, like, let me just take a minute, reschedule the call. And so that was kind of good because I don't think I would have taken it as seriously had I not had my partner there with me. And she knew that this has been a goal for me for a long time, but like to really just like make it real and to hear myself say things and to see her react to the things I was saying, like I highly recommend it. Like, you know, it's, especially we've been in a relationship for a long time, like it can be, you know, a thing where I think she knows me or knows what I'm thinking or what I'm dreaming, but I think it's really important in life in general to just communicate. And like, that was a chance to do that in a way that I wouldn't have done otherwise because, you know, I had my professional layer on. And I think that was really, really cool.
Oh.
And I think it made her believe in me more too.
Yes. And you can work together towards that shared articulated vision.
Yeah. And then it opened us up for a lot more conversations around, well, you know, where would you want to be? What schools are like, this is okay geographically for your goals versus, you know, like maybe these schools I want to go to, but maybe I won't apply to because it wouldn't work for you. And so that was a really helpful process too. And then she started visiting schools with me, and we actually went to a school together that I was considering, but she was really questioning. Mm-hmm. And going there together, like decided not to apply because of what it would be for her, but also because she was like, you can get into a better school.
That's right. That perspective was there.
Yeah.
And now you're both going to be, look at that power couple, Harvard. I love it. I just went to the Harvard Business School holiday party last night, and it is so wonderful to see the Harvard marriages, and it's great. So I'm like, you guys created it, not even, you know, you were just already together, but it's great.
Double Carolina, double Harvard.
Say it one more time.
Double Carolina, UNC-Chapel Hill.
Oh man, the reunions. I love that. So Soltan, obviously to work with us, there is an investment. So how did you feel about investing in yourself in your application process? Did you go it alone the first time, or did you work with another company?
So when I applied last time, I did it by myself. I should say I asked for a lot of advice, and that might have been my downfall because the people I asked for advice were friends, were actually current HBS students, were people who were friends who did like essay editing, you know, but I didn't pay anyone. Mm-hmm. And I guess I really put a lot of stock in that one HBS student, and looking back, like, now that I know a lot more about what it's like to actually be an MBA, I'm just like, that was definitely not a good idea. Even though everyone was super helpful and they gave their perspectives, I didn't have the deep confidence I have this time, or the singular vision. I think I was like, yeah, I do need other people to tell me, but like those people who told me stuff, like, you know, they weren't necessarily in the best position to do that. And so I think that was like a huge difference. And so on the investment piece, like, I was definitely surprised by the price, but at the same time, when I heard it, I was like, you know what? I believe in my dreams, and it's worth any price if I get what I want. And I feel that way now. And it definitely was one of the biggest investments I've made, especially as someone who grew up without a lot of resources. Mm-hmm. You know, it's always kind of a thing, but I in some ways feel really just like happy to be able to do that. And I would recommend it to anyone who, especially coming from a place where I don't have the inherent skill set and knowledge that some people do, like that's worth that price. Yeah. And so, you know, I hope I continue along my career to be able to notice where I have gaps and who can help me really fill those gaps. And
that's right. That's beautiful. And you're a consultant, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a back of the envelope math. Let's say we don't have your financial aid package from Harvard yet, but we do have other packages like your full ride from the schools from Tuck and other schools that you mentioned. So talk to us about the return on your investment. That, you know, what was your return? Let's say if we're able to I'm not sure that we'll be able to I highly doubt we'll be able to get a full ride out of HBS. That's not how they use their money. But let's just go ahead and focus on, let's say, a full ride at Tuck, which is a reality if you wanted to go there. What's the return on your investment?
So if I were to accept a full ride to Tuck, what I paid versus what I would have received from that school would be 17 times, like 17x in terms of that return. So
17x.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. And to be honest, so I did do the Harvard financial aid calculator, which one thing I like about their process is they give you the same calculator their office does, so you can be pretty sure about what the package will be, given they don't do merit aid. And so I actually won't qualify for any money from Harvard, but to me, the return on my investment is actually incalculable because I know what I work at a company where the founder and CEO is an HBS alum. The current CEO is an HBS alum. The SVP of my business is an HBS alum. The president of the chair of the board is an HBS alum. And when I look at the leadership layer here, it's just so obvious every place that I work where I interact with the types of leaders that I want to be, the seats I want to sit in are all from that school. And I know that in some ways it's the only way to get to where I want to go. So, and if I don't have that, it would be a lot harder. So just I have no worries that I will make this investment and the investment I make in HBS back, 100-fold or whatever as my career.
That's right. That's exactly the way to think about it. I love it. So talk to me about why you chose to work with we know why you chose to work with the Art of Applying versus doing it on your own, but what made us stand out to you versus all the other firms you could have worked with?
And I didn't do a lot of comparing consultants because the messaging worked really well for me. I know who I am. I know that one thing that I have to offer is perspectives on diversity. My identities make me kind of an interesting candidate to schools. And so I knew that was the angle that I needed to leverage, but I knew I hadn't leveraged it well last time. And so, to me, the brand of Art of Applying, the way you were messaging, the kind of success stories really resonated with my general experience in life and how I often think about how I need to market myself for success. And so that just felt like a fit right away. And I think the breakthrough call really nailed that in the coffin for me, or maybe that's a weird expression.
But yeah.
I guess I might have thought going into the breakthrough call, oh, this will be informational and I'll go find someone else. But the data was all there and I just pulled the trigger right then.
Oh, this is beautiful. So let's take a minute and for you to share anything about your story that you do want to share related to what made you feel like we're going to be a great match. Yeah. You mentioned growing up without a lot of resources, which I grew up with resources, but in a community without a lot of resources. And that is a part of my story.
Yeah, I think the thing for me was, I think last time I applied, I almost entirely talked about my personal identities, my story coming to the United States as a refugee and growing up in, rural North Carolina as a Muslim in a post 9/11 context and being a transgender person. It's just I really have a lot to share there. And I honestly think that's what does make my perspective unique. And it really makes me a person who can drive a lot of impact because my ability to connect across difference. But I think what I really, really missed was I also, outside of all that, haven't made an amazing progression in my career and offered that way. And I just didn't do a good job talking about that. And so I think at first when I was working with my consultant, I was kind of shocked, maybe you're just you're missing the point or something. And that was the huge value that's worth just mentioning, which is it's so helpful to have someone that doesn't know you at all to read an essay that you wrote and to be to give feedback, because it was one of the most helpful things I could have ever done. There's no way even that HBS student who I'd met would give that type of feedback, because having applied to 10 schools, having done 7 interviews, it is very clear that schools want a formula. And by formula, I mean you got to have all your unique things, but you got to hit the things that they want to see. And I wouldn't have known to do that. And yeah, so that was huge.
That's right. And I remember, I even remember exactly where I was during one of the all client monthly Q&A calls. We were me and you were kind of discussing what's the balance between talking about my personal story and talking about my accomplishments, and not turning the volume up too high on either, and like finding that balance between like, this is who I am and like my values, but also here's what I've accomplished just as a professional.
Totally. And I think what I did particularly well in my HBS essay that Art of Applying really helped me with, and those conversations with you and Sonia really helped me with, was the value of application, as well as like reflection that you get to do when you're doing it, and to like really clarify the vision and clarify why you do the work you do, and to be someone who now has gone through that process of saying, oh, I'm good at working with rural hospitals and talking about revenue because I see the world through a lens of connecting across difference or these other things. Like making that link has made me a better person, a better professional, and I think was what got me into the schools. And I think that like that's like some kind of secret sauce that you have to cultivate and you have to work at to be able to say that, because sometimes life just feels like, oh, we're just going about it or whatever, but truly like to be able to say I've been on a path and I know what that path is and here are the next couple of steps.
Mm-hmm.
That was like really meaningful to me. And so there's that other side of the ROI, is just that like I got to do that self-reflection, which we don't often get a chance to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear that a lot, is like clients will say, this is actually fun. Like, yes, it is stressful, but it's also a lot of fun to just give myself the space to think through like who I am, what I've accomplished so far, and what I plan to do in this world. And to have all these people who've already been to Harvard and are out in the world who believe I can do it too.
Yeah. And a couple of things I'll just say that were really meaningful to me are like that, like my consultant was like incredibly available, like really prompt, like amazing help, like everything that I needed to help me conquer that step. That's like that fear of like, I'm a little paralyzed right now and I just need a little push. Like it was always the right push at the right time to help me get to the next step. And that made it like feel fun, right? If I didn't have that, I would be like, wow, I don't know where to go. I'm like, and like the structure, the tools that you all use, like it made me feel like, okay, I can, there's someone saying this process is going to work. So if I crush this process, I will do what I want. And that was like super helpful. And then, yeah, the last thing I'll say is just the mindset coach, like the multi-pronged way of trying to help a candidate was just like, it really all worked for me. And I feel like because I made an investment, I was like trying to make sure I was getting a lot out of it. And so that helped too.
Yes, I'm exactly the same way. If I invest in something, I'm like, I am checking every box. I am booking every call. Yes, for sure. For sure. And one thing I want to point out, because you had such a good experience with your consultant, is that your consultant did not go to Harvard. And so I just want you to reassure people that like their consultant doesn't necessarily, like it's a process that we're following. So their consultant does not have to be a mirror image of you, and nor do they have to have gone to your exact school.
Totally. I think that's a really good thing to call out, because I think at first, given the identities I just talked about, I was like, is this person going to know how to use even the right language, or are we going to have she's been amazing. And yeah, she went to a school that I eventually put on my list, but it's never been a school that I was that interested in, simply because it's a consortium school, is easier to apply to, but I never felt pressure to do it. And there's a school that I applied to that she didn't even get into, but like it didn't even matter, because yeah, she just had that eye and just was crushing it. And then helped me see where in my own essays, like what she was looking for. And that was like super helpful. And going back and forth on specific phrasing. Yeah. Like it's a process. We didn't want the same things, but she helped me tremendously and was super excited throughout the whole process. And I found myself being like, I can't wait to tell her, like, oh my gosh, like this
yes.
fire, like, so it's fun. Yes.
I love it. This essay is fire. I love it. I love it. Oh, wonderful. Okay. So what would you like to say? That's my last question. Anything else you want to share with somebody who has either already applied and it didn't work out, or maybe they got into a school, but it's not the school that they feel they really should be at or could get into, or they're thinking about applying, they like what they read about the art of applying, they've enjoyed this interview, but they're just scared or hesitant, or just what do you say to those people?
I guess I'll say first, it's amazing to even be able to dream. And so like a dream is an important thing. And so to first, like, know what your dream is, and then the process is like, does that dream feel possible? Can I even allow myself to have this dream? Getting through that question, and then saying, well, maybe it's possible. How can I get there? Like that time period is the time period when I would spend a lot of time surrounding yourself with people who will help reflect that dream being possible for you. And whether that's talking about a family or actually making investments in people who will do that for you, like, is incredible. Like I was like, yeah, I never thought that I could get into HBS. I didn't even feel like I could have that dream. I didn't feel like it was something I had access to, that dream itself. And given my background, like I want anyone who has anything that has any relevance to like the things I shared about the places I came from, like it's possible. Like I did it, and like I'll be the third transgender person at HBS, and I actually would have been the first at any of the schools I applied to outside of it.
What?
Yeah. And so, just like, especially with people with backgrounds that are different than what you think go to these schools, like these schools need us and we need these schools. And so, fucking just go for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is history.
Yeah.
Embarrassing history. 1,000 people go to HBS every year. How do you know that you would be the third transgender person?
So HBS admitted the first trans person to any top 10 business school in, I think, the early 2010s, like maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was well documented. There was articles about it.
Okay.
And the second trans person is there right now.
Wow.
First trans guy is there right now. So I'll be the third. And like I said, I would have been the first at Talk Haas, any of the others, at least that are out, that are
definitely
that are matriculating at the time of transition or post-transition. So
wow.
And then you asked me how I know that. So I've been involved in like LGBTQ, like corporate recruiting, like that sort of this for a long time. And the group of us who are in business and aren't trans is small, and the people who are sort of MBAs and trans are even smaller, as you can imagine. So.
Oh, wow. I am blown away. I am blown away but we got some work to do. And that's not a burden for you. I'm talking about like my industry and the schools have some serious work to do.
Yeah. And I think this is the other like tip I'll say is like, go to the schools. Like they really care that you go there, talk with the people, talk with the clubs. And actually, after not getting an HBS, I stayed in touch with their LGBT club. And what's really interesting is the year I was applying, the LGBT club at Harvard had like this thing that they were worried about and needed a trans opinion on, but no one at the school was trans and no one knew a trans person except for one connection. Someone knew me. So I was actually consulting with like the HBS LGBT group back in 2017. And then in 2018, they invited me to speak on a panel because, again, had very few internal candidates to source to speak about.
Wow.
And so it's a thing, yeah. And so, like, but it's, to me, an opportunity and an exciting place to be, right? But it's something that I'm choosing really with a lot, knowing that there's a lot of weight in it, right? Because there's a whole line of trans people behind me that I
definitely,
right? And to me, like, HBS is the right platform.
Definitely. And what's interesting is just like we had to do, work on that balance in your application, it's going to be now up to you and your wife to work on that balance at HBS. How much do I want to be the trans person helping the school versus and other trans people? And how much do I just want to like go to parties, network, and like get myself my dream job? So I can imagine that that's going to be an ongoing journey as well.
Absolutely. And, what better way to do it than with an HBS name behind it versus school. Yeah.
This was a pleasure, Soltan. My exclamations are genuine. All of my hollering and laughing and delightedness is so real. And from your breakthrough call, you're the person who enrolled you called it from day one. Like, Soltan is going to be a superstar, and it turned out even better than we all imagined. So I'm just so happy for you, so proud of you, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. And thanks for all that you did to make it possible for me.
Wonderful. Thanks for watching our video. For more videos just like this, make sure you click subscribe. And if you want to work with us on your graduate school applications, visit us at theartofapplying.com or click on the link below in the description.